I collect Spider-Man. Echo, turn on the spider room.
Okay.
Why Spider-Man?
I was bullied when I was little. My tastes have gotten pickier as I get into my collecting. This was the piece, honest to goodness, that led to everything else. I've been working on a run of Amazing Spider-Man for 45 years now, and I'm about ready to complete it. And my first thought was, okay, what do I start next?
What's in that?
I knew you were gonna ask. When I walk in this room, not only is it a feeling of calm, but it's also a feeling of accomplishment. My favorite Spider-Man. My favorite Peter Parker, which is a different entity, would have to be Marvel. That's what we want, just so you know. It's $6,000. Oh, I see your face. Sadly, I destroyed him. Any collector that ever says, I'm done, is lying.
I like what you did here.
Oh yeah, thank you. That was again, another ADD labor of love.
We are here with Michael today. We met him at Rebel Base Comics and Toys a couple episodes back. There's a whole episode on that if you want to check it out. But Michael, can you reintroduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, and...
My name is Michael. I am the current store manager at Rebel Base Comics and Toys here in Charlotte. I'm a retired teacher of almost 30 years, and I am a Spider-Man collector and a lifelong comic and toy collector, and was one of the very few people in life who are lucky to move from one passion right into another career-wise. So make sure you come see me at Rebel Base.
Do you remember the first comic you ever read?
Yes, I do. Off the rack of a Wilco gas station in Burlington, North Carolina. My dad went down there to get some cigarettes, and I went with him and grabbed a copy of G.I. Joe number 21 off the shelf. Laugh was on me because I got it home, and that's the infamous silent issue. There were 0 words in it. So I begged my dad, beg, I need you to go back down and let me pick out another comic book. And the very next one was a Spider-Man book.
How do you feel when you walk into this room?
Oh, this room is a permeation of my entire life. Like everything that I am is represented in this room somehow.
What was your relationship with comic books like growing up?
When you're a kid who has massive ADD and ADHD like I do, reading was a challenge just to get you to sit and focus. And if it wasn't for comic books and frankly dinosaurs, I wouldn't know how to read. Comic books are the ultimate learning source for kids to read. They're short, they have lots of words, but they also have lots of pictures to describe what's going on with them too. So comic books helped me learn how to read. I wrote my national teacher examination essay to get my teaching license about Spider-Man. And I made a perfect score.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife wrote about an astronaut and had to retake it. She's gonna kill me for saying that. I know. I am, but no, she's a wonderful, brilliant teacher, way smarter than me. But everybody loves Spider-Man. So I mean,
nobody loves astronauts.
Nobody loves astronauts. Everybody loves Spider-Man. Echo, turn on the spider room.
Okay.
No, it's not as open as grandiose as other people's collections, but I feel really good about it. And yes, I'm a retro gaming nerd too.
Why Spider-Man?
Well, Spider-Man is everything that I ever aspired to be as a person, minus the superpowers. I relate to him a lot. He's always broke, was always in between jobs, never quite finding what he wanted to do in life. And I was like that for a good long while. He's extremely sarcastic, extremely quippy, and that's how I live every single moment of my life. When all else fails, no matter what, Spider-Man does the right thing. And regardless if it's at personal cost to him, he goes out of his way to help. As a teacher, that's like the number one rule. You walked into a room. Whatever you were doing in the room was to perpetuate better people by the end of the day. And he's just kind of a hero that always resonated with me. Essentially doing the same thing, albeit I don't stick to walls. You know? And of course, he has a fantastic rogues gallery too, because what's a good hero without a good villain?
If anyone remembers, this is what he had just got whenever we were at the store, right?
That is our Green Goblin premium cosplay helmet by Hasbro. I highly recommend that because it fits my head wonderfully. If it fits my head with all my hair, it will fit anyone.
When do you think your interest in Spider-Man moved from fandom to collecting?
When I had money. I mean, like that's unfortunately like the the ultimate end all with collecting is that it's hard to collect stuff when with no income. This was the very first little statue or collectible piece that my wife brought back she went to a conference and brought this back. She knows how much I love Green Goblin, and she bought this little bad boy for me. And this was the piece, honest to goodness, that led to everything else. Like, this is the one that got it started, this little itty bitty Green Goblin, which I love dearly.
And how long ago was that? The start of this?
First massiveness, probably about 15, 16 years ago. Yeah. It's, slow ride, but a fun ride. But this is the piece that started it all. It's simple. It's wasn't very expensive, but I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. I can actually do something that's not a comic book or an action figure, and bam, now we're here.
Okay, so before statues, does that mean there were action figures?
There were. I was really never an in-box collector, and still not. The only reason these are on the wall here, still in their packages, is because I have a counterpart that's out of package for them. And toys are meant to be played with. Toys are meant to be displayed. Toys are meant to be moved around. I know people who buy hot toys, and this is no slam against hot toy collectors. The word toy is literally in the name, and I know some people who never take them out of the box. And to me, that's a shame. Every time I sell one, it goes to an in-box collector, I'm like, you don't know how much you're missing out. But to each their own. We appreciate all of them, but I go through and change mine up every month. I change the portraits, the poses, the hands, and everything to just A, to satisfy the ADD, but B, to give me a chance to sit down and play with them, because at the end of the day, they're toys.
Yeah.
And as you walk through the house with my wife's American Girl stuff and things like that, toys kind of like permeate this whole household. If you get a shot of the living room floor, let everybody see how many toys the dogs have. When I say my fandom goes through everything, their leashes, their collars are both Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, their blankets, their beds, everything that I can permeate my insanity to goes into something. I had a Spider-Man toaster for the longest time, but I blew it up by accident. She handmade both of those. Oh, really? Yep. Mm-hmm. She's quite crafty. I've been graced with lots of gifts over the years and things that are sitting in my room right now that were given to me as gifts. But there's nothing quite being able to go, okay, my bills are paid. My car is not like blown up right now. So let me treat myself to something that brings me a little bit of joy. Like the Daily Bugle set there was a 25th wedding anniversary present there. It took 3 weeks for me to build, again, ADD and patience.
In this room, do you have your first Spider-Man, not comic, like toy statue?
No, I do not, because sadly I destroyed him.
Why?
Because it was a toy and I played with it when I was a kid. I mean, I stand by the statement, toys are meant to be played with.
More so in your collecting days, not in your...
The very first Spider-Man I ever got, for all you old people like me, was a Remco energized Spider-Man. And he looks like this. He's got fishing line that comes out of his hand, and it's got this big old red hook, and you hang him something, and there's a little motor in there where he climbs up. That thing went everywhere with me. And I played with until his feet fell off, his hand fell off, and eventually his head fell off. And my mom said that was enough. He had to go. Now, whether that was given to me or whether I bought it with allowance money at the time is a faded memory. All I know is that I played with that thing until it fell apart. So if any collectors out there have a Remco energized Spider-Man, I am looking for one to replace that hole in my childhood.
Do you think Spider-Man reflects something deeper about how you view the world or deal with challenges?
When the writers know how to write him, he is the model of what every human being should be. Risk yourself to help others, no matter the cost. If more people listen to Spider-Man about how you act with one another, then we wouldn't have a lot of the issues we have nowadays. As you can probably see from the setup, I have an affinity for the bad guys. They're always the most interesting. My favorite being Green Goblin. He's the direct antithesis to Peter. Everybody would think it's Venom. It's not. Norman Osborn is the complete antithesis to Peter. One is rich, one is poor. One does the right thing, one does not. They counter each other, so when written well in the comic book, you know, he's the love to hate villain. You know, everything he does is just to damage Spider-Man or Peter Parker in his own personal life, but you can't help but like it.
Do you organize things a certain way?
The only thing I organize are my books. And that's for basically inventory and record keeping purposes. Everything else I put where the moment strikes me. You know, I try and keep things sort of themed. Got a cabinet dedicated to Green Goblin, cabinet dedicated to Venom, but honestly, it's just for aesthetics or space. You know, the collector's bane is always space. The lizard there is the first big boy statue that I ever purchased.
Do you find peace in maintaining or organizing your collection?
It's peace and frustration, because if you let it slip just a little bit, you're catching up on 3 months worth of work, especially when it comes to comic books. The statues and things like that, I take shortcuts. I have an air purifier in my room that takes care of 90% of the dusting for me. So go through once a month my little makeup brushes and do like that. And then Hot Toys, I'll change the parts out, change the poses and things like that just to give me something different. And it does bring me a good bit of peace and relaxation doing that.
What does collecting mean to you?
It's an outlet. It's a de-stressor. Collecting, again, is the reflection of who you are. You take in things that make you feel good, but yet represent the aspects of your life that you want people to see. I've joked for the longest time there are a lot worse things that I could spend my money on than the toy statues and comics. And I think that goes for most anybody who is in the collecting game. It's an outlet. It's a free expression. It's non-judged, and it allows me to do what I want to without any kind of headache. Am I hurting someone, or am I doing this is going to offend anybody? It lets me be me, and that's always been the best thing about it.
Do you think collecting is more about the hunt, the story, or the display?
I think it has to be all three, because I'm always on the hunt for something. The big thing with me was I've been working on a run of Amazing Spider-Man for 45 years now, and I'm about ready to complete it. The number one is secured. It's not paid for all the way yet, but it is secured. Once I made my first down payment on that one, I'm like, well, okay. And my first thought was, okay, what do I start next? The display is the result of the hunt. The hunt is the result of you needing something to chase. So I think all three of them work in conjunction. My tastes have gotten pickier as I get into my collecting. You know, I don't just buy everything off the shelf. I don't go to a Target and grab action figures off the shelf anymore. I think all three of them work in a circle to give the desired effect. Any collector that ever says, I'm done, is lying. There's something always being hunted that you just haven't figured out what it is yet. But when you see it, you'll know it.
Listen to that.
I knew you were going to ask. I was actually expecting you to ask.
We're ready.
That was a Christmas present. Excuse me, Godzillas. That was a Christmas present from my son this past year that came out of complete left field. And if you want to know how really a dedicated Spider-Man fan I am, if you don't own one of these, are you really a fan? And yes, I wore it on Free Comic Book Day at Roll Base. It fits quite nicely, if I do say so myself. This was a present from my son going, you know, Merry Christmas. I love you. I acknowledge your passion for Spider-Man. And hey, by the way, you're not 300 pounds anymore. Congratulations. It's got built-in footwear.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So you never go anywhere, you know, unless you have flat feet like mine, you know. But there's the suit.
Wow.
About as screen accurate as you're going to get. So, I mean, I almost feel like Spider-Man. I strap on my web shooters that are on display right behind you. And we go to town.
Who was your favorite though?
I mean, if I really wanted to be like, you know, super traditional, I'd be like, well, Nicholas Hammond did the old 70s cartoon. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. But that sucked though. And I fully acknowledge it sucked, but it was fun when I was a kid. I think Spider-Man wise, Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man. My favorite Peter Parker which is a different entity, would have to be Tom Holland. Tobey Maguire meshes the two the best.
Yeah.
So it's different for all three.
Mine was Tobey Maguire.
So Spider-Man 2 is still the best, hands down, Spider-Man movie to date, and the best representation of the comic books, especially with Dr. Octopus and everything. So I look at it from three different point of views. I think the actor that pulled them all three together the best was Tobey Maguire. But Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's great because did that the whole time. And I like that.
Yeah.
That's what he's supposed to do.
Do you ever feel like Peter Parker's story mirrors your own in any way?
Yeah, it sure enough does. I was bullied when I was little. When I was in school, I was the target. I was the little nerd that got, hit on, smacked on, things like that. To see this kid in comic book form that was going through the same things I was going through was awesome. It's kind of cool to look into a medium and kind of see yourself. And while it may be fiction, while it may be all, smoke, mirrors, and fairy tale, there's always something in comics that resonates true to a lot of people. Everybody in the comic world knows that the X-Men were civil rights characters just in mutant land instead of the real world. So as long as you can lock on to what's going on in it that's relevant, then absolutely everyone should pick up a comic every now and then and read it. When I walk in this room, not only is it a feeling of calm, but it's also a feeling of accomplishment. You should never ever evaluate your life and your worth through possessions. Okay, if I had to sell all of this to take care of a sick loved one or anything like that, I wouldn't heartbeat. At the end of the day, when I get home from work and I hug the doggies and hug the wife and then walk in my room and go, my little sanctuary is still here. It makes me feel good. And it also makes me feel accomplished that I've gotten to the point in life that I can amass a decent one. My collection is nowhere as big as some of the others, but for me, it's like my entire little world right there outside of my family. So it makes me feel pretty solid.
How do you think people feel when they walk in this room? What do you want them to feel?
I want them to feel happy. I want them to feel like, ooh, this is cool. 'Cause I can't tell you how many people walk in here and go, oh man, I want something like this one day. Well, it took years. It took patience, which I have very little of. And it took getting 2 kids out through college and everything. I mean, you start small. Like I said, mine was that one right there.
Janice. It took Janice.
It took Janice. Yeah. And it takes time. Collecting is it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. It is not I got to have this right now. It requires way more patience than I have ever. Collecting is a straight up obsession. If anyone tells you not, they're lying to you. I'm hoping it's a example of what you can do with time and patience. Some people come in here and go, oh, good Lord, you're a hoarder. And I'm like, no, hoarding is different. Hoarding is way different. You can tell what I have in here. There's, you can tell it's organized.
There's not diapers on the floor.
There's not diapers on the floor. There's not trash bags hidden in here. There's not any, it's not hoarding if it means something to you. It's collecting. And I know there's a fine line between the two statements, but when everybody comes in here, I just hope that they can, they enjoy what they see. Neighborhood kids come in here and go, eyes get really big and everything like that. And the first thing, oh, can I play with that? No, you can't. No, I have stuff you can play. I have stuff. No, I will never tell a kid that to get out. It's again, education. Teach the kid the difference between a $300 toy and a $5 toy. There's a difference. It's still a toy. I want them to play with it. I want them to touch it. I don't mind people picking up my hot toys and stuff like that. It's in the name. But it's all, care, because some of the stuff in here can't be replaced. That's the number one comment about all my stuff is I would love to have a space like that. And everything in here has some kind of meaning to me.
Would you say any of these are investment grade collectibles?
A good bit in there is investment grade collectibles. All of the 1/4 scale statues are all investment grade, all polystone, hand carved, limited edition. All the hot toys, of course, are always investment grade because the resale value on those is really solid. But more importantly, the books are the comic books in my collection are are the big get. That's why they're under lock and key and all that stuff, because they're irreplaceable to me, because I won't be able to pay what I did 20 years for some of those books. And the day that I finish the entire collection, which is actually very sooner than later, believe it or not, then I've got some flexibility on what to do with it. Do I sell it as a group? Do I sell the entire Amazing Spider-Man run to get in Amazing Fantasy 15? There's everything in that. Just the collection being as a whole is investment grade.
So when you're in this room, is there a specific Spider-Man?
That's a very hard question, because that's like asking me to choose between my two kids. But if I had to narrow it down,
it would be your son.
So I'm not. Do not entrap me like that. Even though my daughter's named Mary Jane, and yes, it is that she's named after that Mary Jane there. If I had to say, I like my pull out of the fire, run back in, it's going to be that piece right there. It's the only thing I have signed by Stan Lee. It's issue number 50, first anniversary present, and then completed into signed and the whole meeting experience before he passed away. So if there's a favorite piece or something that I smile the most looking at, it's probably that one there.
That's awesome. Okay, so $20 to $30 then, what do you think that is worth today?
Well, Stan Lee's signature, of course, makes people go insane. The book without his signature in that grade is probably about $700, $800 book by itself. Wow. But with his signature and like that, it's probably, I think the last estimated value about it was around $1,500. But again, money, it will never part from me.
Have any of your pieces appreciated significantly in value?
The one I have the most turnaround on is my Amazing Spider-Man 300. My wife and I's first Christmas together, we set a $50 limit on a gift. I made the very bad decision of going and buying her some clothes, which I will never, ever do again. She found a comic book store that was going out of business and bought me an entire long box of ASM. And in it was 238 First Hobgoblin, 298, 299, 300 First Venom. So in actuality, my copy of ASM 300 cost about 10 cents, and now it's slabbed and graded. It's about probably about $1,000 book at this point. So I'm not in the flipping business. So everything that I get, I either display or I give to someone.
Have you ever parted with a piece and regretted it?
I think the biggest hurt that I had was I had a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 129. That's the first appearance of Punisher. I had it secured about probably about 20 years ago, and would have paid almost nothing for it. But I let it go, and I was like, I'll pick it up later. And now it's a $3,000 book. The copy I have is nowhere near as good as what I would have had. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, whatnot. Have I personally taken anything that I have in my collection and sold it? No, because I don't do that.
What do you think your collection says about you?
Number one, that I really like Spider-Man. My collection for me, and I know this sounds really, really hokey, my collection is beyond that room. That my identity as a comic collector and whatnot reaches every aspect of my life, from every single piece of clothing that I wear down to my wedding ring. The bold brightness of the character and the world that they exist in is my personality. I don't leave the house without something on that represents that. Never have. I mean, I'm even style my glasses now after that. It's who I am. It's a living, physical representation of my entire attitude toward everything. So, and I'm pretty okay with that.
Do you ever feel like you're building something that will outlast you?
Oh, I hope it will. All of this is destined to go to my kids when I go. What they do with it beyond is, I joked for years that they weren't going to get anything. I was going to take it all with me. But, have some kind of mausoleum or something. But it all goes to my kids. My son is actually even jokes about every time he gives me a present, goes, here, I've added another piece to my collection.
What kind of lessons do you think Spider-Man teaches even to adults?
Be a good person. And know your own strength and worth. just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the old classic line with great responsibility kind of should bleed over into everybody's life. We all have a responsibility to somebody or someone, even if it's ourselves.
Do you think you'll ever stop collecting?
No, I don't think so. I may get pickier. I may get more selective. I may slow down, but there's always going to be stuff that I see. Ooh, I want that. That's the big part of the collecting game that a lot of people don't understand. You got to know when you walk away from something. If it's not what you want to spend, you leave it. It will boomerang back around to you eventually. So, and that's for instance, most everything in here I waited on before I picked it up. The last comic book I needed in my Amazing Spider-Man run was number 5 there, the one with Dr. Doom on it. Worth is what somebody's going to pay for it. So, and that's, because I get the call every single day. Will you tell me what this is worth? Worth is only what somebody's going to pay for it. And for me, it was worth what I paid, so I'm very happy with it. And it was not a crying, like, go to the bank and apologize to my wife amount, like the number 1 was, or is still big. But I do. I'm a very gracious husband. I always call my wife and go, hey, I'm about to do something really stupid. And
she says, go for it.
I wouldn't say she says go for it, but she's like, okay, if we can swing it and have all the bills, she's good.
Is there a holy grail piece you're still after?
I will always say an Amazing Fantasy 15, but I doubt that due to cost. I doubt that will ever be in my possession. The Amazing Spider-Man number 1 was the longest one for the longest number 1, but I finally, was able to secure one and make payments on it for a good long while. So, but the Amazing Fantasy 15 just seems to be, out of touch in reality, which is all good, But if I could, like I said before, if I could find a still not broken, still workable Remco energized Spider-Man to take me back to my youth, I'd be okay with that.
Energized Spider-Man, the spider web trap for lifting and pulling. The spider light, you can watch him climb in the dark and pretend he's searching for the enemy. The power pack turns on the spider copter, sold separately.
Spider-Man flies by night.
Energized Spider-Man comes with motorized web climber.
If you could hand down one thing from this collection, what would it be and why?
My daughter Mary Jane gets the specific Mary Jane stuff. Because she knows very, very well that's who she was named after, and she's very fooled by it. She loves telling people that I was named after, Spider-Man's girlfriend, wife, whatever you want to call her now. She loves the connection, and she's as big a fan as I am. She gets that stuff, and then Wesley gets the Silver Age books, because he is way more versed in them than she is, and would know how to care for them, properly store them, knows what to do with them, and would never part with them.
Who's your favorite Mary Jane? Obviously, you can't say your daughter.
Obviously, okay, sorry, Mary Jane, I tried. There's only been one live action portrayal, and that was Kirsten Dunst, and that's fine. But so I'll give you a genre. Mary Jane was at her best in the comics in the time from when they got married to the time that One More Day happened. She was supportive. She was behind her husband. Of course, she had reservations, and they fought like every other couple, and had their, they were written as a real life couple. But at the end of the day, she was an extremely supportive wife, and who looked after her husband. And I think that's what anybody wants, not the toxic figure that she's written as today. That's why if you're reading Ultimate Spider-Man, she is quickly becoming my favorite version of Mary Jane ever written, because she's a super supportive wife and mother. And, people like at my age that read the comic books, that resonates. It's okay to have a family dynamic in a comic book. You don't have to be 16 forever.
But the Mary Jane that you're describing sounds like Janice that we've heard so much about.
100%, 100%. We've been together for a long time. I used to joke with Janice that she was my Mary Jane until we had Mary Jane. And I've tried for years to get her to dye her hair red. She won't do it. But no, it's all about the support structure and how you deal with problems. And And for that era of her writing in the book was fantastic. And you know, everything that I've ever wanted out of a partner and wife was exhibited in those years where they were married, and she was struggling being a wife and a superhero wife, and just phenomenal writing, phenomenal characterization, and if we could go back to those days in the main Amazing Spider-Man book, it would be great. Hey, Marvel, that's what we want, just so you know. But they're depicting her wonderfully in the Ultimate Spider-Man series right now, wife and mother.
All right, real quick before this video finishes, I wanted to point out something that I found while editing this video. If you remember back at the beginning, Michael talked about why he got a Spider-Man comic to begin with. It's because he went to the gas station and picked up G.I. Joe issue number 21, which is the infamous silent issue of G.I. Joe. There's no text. Most kids thought this was a misprint. And like most kids, he went back and turned it in and got another comic, and he picked Spider-Man. We know this story. I wanted to know what issue of Spider-Man he picked up. And according to Google, in March 1984, Marvel Comics released The Amazing Spider-Man number 250. This issue features a significant confrontation between Spider-Man and the Hobgoblin. So he's a Hobgoblin fan because of that first issue. Now, what is interesting is that in the silent issue of G.I. Joe, it also introduces another villain that is the pretty much anti-version of a beloved G.I. Joe. Just like Hobgoblin is to Spider-Man, Storm Shadow is to Snake Eyes. So had issue 21 had text and he kept it, would this scene have played out like this?
My favorite being
Storm Shadow.
Because he's the direct antithesis to
Snake Eyes.
Everybody would think it's Venom, but it's not.
A couple things for you. How much is that comic that you're putting down payments on?
It's $6,000. Yeah, well, hence the multiple payments. Yeah. Oh, I see your face. So my wife had the same look on her face. It's 32 pages of paper. I get it, but it's a number one.
You said in there, and you said in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a toy. Open it. Play with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you apply that to your comics?
I read every single one that I get.
So when you get this one, you'll open it up and read it?
I've already opened it up and read it. Yep, I checked it out because any Silver Age comic collector is going to open it up and look at it and turn through the pages to make sure everything's there, make sure the staples are there, and make sure the cover is attached, everything. If you buy an expensive book and don't look at it, you're the fool, not the person seeing it. So yes, my hands have already been on this book. And when it finally is sitting on my table there, oh yes, I will read it, sniff it, smell it, touch it, all that one good time before it goes in its permanent holder and eventually gets graded for preservation. I don't grade books for value. I grade books for preservation. But absolutely, every single comic book that I have in my collection, including the big ones, I have read. I have touched, flipped the pages, done it because they're books.
There's one thing in here that sticks out like a sore thumb.
Go for it. Oh, we'll notice the comic book behind it.
Ah, okay.
Yes. That is the only reason there is a Superman up in this room, because the pops matched. I had a kid give me the pop to go with my book, so I'm not going to say no ever to a kid, you know. So, but he's there to match the Superman versus Spider-Man Treasury book. There, it's the only piece of Superman I have in this room.
I don't think I've ever seen a pop open before.
Oh, again, they're vinyl plastic toys. You know, again, and if you, I'm sure with you guys doing toy stuff, know that the pop market has all but just crashed. So people are either trying to dump them or they're finally opening up and realizing that they can display them without being in the box. So we're getting calls left and right every single day about pop collections and things like that we're not buying anymore because we just can't substantiate it anymore. I'm like, every time somebody calls, I'm like, how about you open them and play with them?